Won't you pray with me? God, we give you thanks. We give you thanks for the moments of awe that you have given us, for the ability to worship you each and every day. God, we ask that the meditation of my lips and of all of our hearts be pleasing in your sight, our rock and our redeemer. Amen. Okay, friends, tell me, was there some kind of big sporting event last weekend? Y'all, if you could see the look that my sister-in-law just gave me, she's a little disappointed that the Eagles lost. I'm just kidding. Of course, I know that there was some kind of sporting event last weekend. You saw my girls in their Kelly Green ready to root for the Eagles. We even gave them a couple extra minutes at bedtime to be able to watch the football game until halftime. It didn't really mean much to them because they don't really quite get it, but getting to stay up a couple minutes later is fun, right? In South Jersey, it would have been almost impossible not to know that it was the Super Bowl last week. It was all over social media, and it even made it to the front page of some newspapers, and it was on the billboards. The Super Bowl spilled into our regular lives pretty easily. I mean, heck, Elba's preschool asked the kiddos to wear Eagles gear and colors to school on Thursday. The hype around the game seems a little excessive, right? I mean, even in non-Eagles country, this big game ends up in all the advertisements, and people have big parties. It's a big deal. Almost too big. As Christians, we are less about the flash and pizzazz. The big over-the-top displays make us a little uncomfortable. We would prefer our faith not be the center of attention. Like ever. Don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. Hide away in prayer. Don't make a big deal about your acts of piety. You know the things Jesus tells us about being faithful in the Gospels. All the big flair and hype makes us a little uncomfortable, which is probably why the Transfiguration isn't one of the major passages in some churches. Okay, that might be taking it too far, but you have to admit, if they made the events of our gospel lesson from this morning into a movie, the production values would be sky high. There would be enough source material for sure, because 3 of the 4 gospels record the events of the mountaintop. The events are recorded with subtle differences, but since there is a story that is recorded in 3 gospels, the implication is that something important is happening here. There is something we need to glean from this light show. Jesus, who is usually all about keeping things quiet and small, is out of character and over the top. Of course, you might be thinking, well, of course it's important because it's in the Bible, but we ignore it most of the time. So we must not feel that way for real. But what if we go with the metaphor of the big game for just a minute? I know it's a little, yes, and a little scary and a little bit much, but bear with me. What if we got our nachos and snacks and filled into the stadium for the big show? What might we see? First of all, we have to ask, who is this for? Are we a bystander looking on, or is it designed for us to imagine being a part of? The thing is, it's both. There is a part that is clearly for Jesus. It's like a halftime in the locker room where the coach and assistant coaches, God, Elijah, and Moses, give their players a pep talk. But the other half of the message is clearly for the onlookers. The quote during the Transfiguration has 2 parts. Part 1, "This is my beloved Son," a statement of authority. If the big show wasn't enough, now we have reason to understand that Jesus is part of, comes from, participates in the divinity of God. The second part of the quote is, "Listen to him." So Jesus is part of the divinity of God, and we are supposed to listen to him. The second part, the part about listening to him, is the part that Peter doesn't quite get right, almost ever. But Peter is on the mountaintop. He is ready. He has on the Jesus jersey, to keep the metaphor going. He is ready for the big win. He wants a piece of the action. He is that guy in the front row of the end zone who's got the face paint on, ready to catch the game ball, doing whatever he can to get on TV. Okay, maybe that's taking the metaphor too far. But Peter is just trying to make sure that he is a part of the game. He's trying to stake a claim. He was trying to capture the glory of God by building tents. The problem is that the glory of God cannot be contained in a building. This moment on the mountaintop was God's moment. This was Jesus' moment to shine like the sun. Peter was a little presumptuous to think that building a building was what God wanted. All Peter had to do was stand or kneel in reverence or fall on his face in awe and wonder, which he eventually did. What are we supposed to take from this? We're supposed to take that our first responsibility is to worship. When we are paying attention, we are awestruck. When we are paying attention, we are awestruck by the wonder, the glory, the awesomeness of God. Falling to our knees or lifting our hands and voices in praise or lifting our hearts in joy and compassion. These are the things that worship is all about. If we look at the etymology of the word compassion, we see the prefix com, which means with or together or sharing, and the word passion, which is a strong and barely controllable emotion. So compassion is a strong and barely controllable emotion that is meant to be shared. The way we worship should be more than just a warm feeling in our hearts. Our worship should transform us to shine like the sun. Our worship should transform us to shine like the sun as we bring light and life to those around us. Everyone we encounter, everyone should know that we have spent time in worship close to Jesus. They should see in us a desire to listen to Jesus. Worship is a time for us to hear anew our calling from Jesus. It's an opportunity to commune with the triune God and learn more about our call to love, our call to service, our call to give ourselves away. Worship is all about Jesus, but at the same time, it's all about us. About him as the beloved Son and us as the ones drawn together in community and privileged to be able to listen to him. Friends, I pray that you take every opportunity for worship and treat it like the big game. I hope that you are able to refresh in your relationship with Jesus and that you are able to find and live into your calling, the calling that only you can answer. May you be the light and love of Christ in the world. Amen.